Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever you're watching this video. Appreciate the support, Cuzzy. My name is Joe Josh. I go by iChart Daily. Today is Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. Wanted to give you another window to my thought process on how I do technical analysis breakdowns. Shout out to you guys for supporting the channel and to give back. I said in the last video I'm going to choose a couple of comments. So Quant, HBAR, and XRP is for you guys. I am forever grateful for the support and for allowing me to teach you. So, first things first, before I get into technical analysis, this is not financial advice. This is a window to my thought process that I've been tweaking and fine-tuning over the past 17 years. This is for educational purposes only, and we're just chit-chatting like we're at the bar, just throwing out hypotheticals. So, first things first, I always go to a longer time frame. I'm going to be quick in this video. Here is the current trend. Yellow is support with the thicker yellow line being your major greed level fake out zones. Orange is your resistance with the thick orange lines being its fake out greed zones. You can see here the trend went from here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here. Next thing that I've noticed is this key level of support resistance being from 34,000 to 38,000. Same thing here, same thing here. That's why we have that gray box there, right? Now we look at the indicators and you can see that we have not death crossed yet, but it is pretty much going to happen. The reason why I could say that is everything's lining up, right? You're getting your bearish divergence from your RSI, meaning that the blue line crossed the 70, broke the moving average, and now the trend is going down. We are confirming that the trend's going down. So what does that mean? Well, long-term trends will predict short-term outcomes. And if the long-term trend, meaning the weekly chart, is showing you bearish divergence, that means on the daily time frame, yes, we can have a dead cat bounce, but I'm not expecting a higher high to the 46 to 50,000. What do I mean by that? Well, if you look in the past, you can have dead cat bounces and dead cat bounces and dead cat bounces and dead cat bounces and dead cat bounces. But unfortunately, if the longer term trend is still coming down, that means we are still coming down. So I do think on the daily time frame, because we're still getting bearish divergence on the weekly, this falling wedge is going to come to an end, and I do think we have potential to break to the upside to potentially 43 to 44,000. The reason why I say that is now I'm playing chess. I do think we break up. The first thing I see is this zone right here, like I said, and that zone lines up with the previous resistance that was resistance, right? The orange line. But if we do have this dead cat bounce coming out of the falling wedge and we do form a lower high to this one here, that leads into the weekly continuing to the downside. When your trend is going to the downside, what that means are the legs are going down, right? Example A, example B, right? C, D. When the wave is going up, your legs and your steps are going up. So as of right now, this is the first leg down, right? We went from here to here. I think we have a dead cat bounce from here to here. And then we have continuations leading around to this spot right over here, the same way that we did here and the same way that we did here. Another thing that I'm seeing is on the weekly time frame, we are not close to the 50 line yet. The 50 line is going to be a most recent support resistance of, let's just say, 32 to potentially 34,000. That is this right here. We are still all the way at the 61, showing me that we have room to bleed. And if we have room to bleed on the longer time frame, then that means the shorter time outcomes are going to remain bearish. You can see on a daily time frame, we are now in section B, and on a MACD, we are in section B. So what that means is we can have a dead cat bounce, come back up to this 47 to 50 level, and have a continuation to the downside. Once again, pop up, and then we do something like this. Or not originally just pop up. We could see something like a bear flag playing out. And you see something like this. We reach this level again, and then we drop again. The reason why I say we have a higher probability of going to the upside, forming a lower high, and dropping to the downside is because the longer time trends are still remain bearish. I mean, it didn't even start yet. So because we have a short-term pop on the horizon, what I'm looking for is hidden bullish divergence on, let's just say, the 10-hour and the 12-hour. You can see here we're still in this trend, right? This trend went from here to here, bounced here. We had this bear flag, bounced, right? Had this bear flag, bounced. We're having this bear flag. The first thing that needs to happen is the price action needs to form a same low around the 38,000. And then what needs to happen with the indicators is the indicators need to make a higher low while the price is making the same low. So if the price is doing a double bottom like this, right, and your RSI is doing something like this, and your MACD is doing something like this, and you're having that golden cross, then this is the perfect time to form a bottom. As you can see here, we're making lower lows and lower highs each time. This could be the first time that we come up and we make that higher low. So we want hidden bullish divergence on, let's just say, the 6, 10, and 12 hour, showing you that you could finally have the golden cross on the daily, right? So we're not there yet. You need to start looking at the 12 hour and the 10 hour to see if we're finally going to break out of the 40,000 and head to the 41,000 and start forming something like this on the way up. Once again, back to here. So because we're preparing for somewhat of a double bottom or even a triple bottom, and it hasn't happened yet, but we're preparing for it just because we're extremely oversold, right? Meaning the RSI is all the way down to the 30 level, even on the 16-hour and the daily. And this indicator that I have on the bottom is called the market bottom indicator, right? So I line up when the RSI is extremely oversold and when those blue lines are going off, showing me that whales are putting massive amounts of buy orders in, right? That's all that is. So if you see that the buy orders are going off, we're close to the 30 line, we're close to support of 38,000 that I said we were going to. Now you just need to play it out and see if you get a hidden bullish divergence on the shorter time frames, and that will lead you to a breakout to the upside over here. So because we're going to have somewhat of a short-term pump to the upside, lower high, and continuation to the downside, I now look at Quant. All right, and the first thing I see on Quant, we go to the weekly. Well, we're looking at the MACD and we're looking at the RSI. Does it look like the MACD is about to golden cross? What does it look like it's about to death cross? It looks like it's about to death cross. And once again, trend lines go with trend indicators. So you can see here, death cross, trend lines are coming down. That means your trend lines need to come down, right? Trend lines going up. That means trend lines were going up, but now if the trend is changing because you're getting a death cross, your trend lines need to change as well. I could see us doing something like this, right? Now, once again, we're expecting somewhat of a short-term pop. What does that mean? That looks like something like this, right? You have this blood, but then you have a pop, and then it's back down to the downside. So once again, we are on thin ice. Why do I say that? This is a long-term trend. This is a weekly chart. Your MACD is about to death cross, and your RSI is to break the 50 line. Nothing positive price-wise comes on shorter time frames when your long-term trend is changing, right? Once again, anything in section B means it's negative. Anything in section A shows it's a continuation to the upside, right? We did this, we bounced off the 50, we did this, we made a higher low to this one here, and it was a continuation to the upside. Once we broke the 50 and we were heading down to the 30, it was just lower highs and lower lows all the way down. So what does that mean? Once again, it's the same thing. I think potentially we can have on a shorter time frame because we're so oversold This falling wedge will eventually break to the upside, right? You can see here we're running out of room. There's no more room between support and resistance. This is called an apex moment. And because Bitcoin has potential to break to the upside over the next 12 to 24 to 48 hours, you're expecting the rest of the market to follow. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And it's only because of Bitcoin's dominance being at 51 to 52% of the market. So, because the long-term trend is pointing down, but the short-term trend is now potentially forming a bottom, we're expecting, once again, a break to the upside, but not a higher high to the 154.80. So this is where I go like this. I zoom down, and I want to see previously where has there been major resistance that potentially we could see resistance again. I can see this right here. This 127 to potentially, let's just say, the 130 level. It was resistance here, it was resistance here, it was resistance here, it was resistance here. And I'm going to line that up with the RSI. I want to see if the RSI comes back up to, let's just say, the 50. If we break, this is the 50 right now. So once again, I do think potentially we do have a breakout eventually over the next couple of days. Just a small dead cat bounce. What a dead cat bounce means is the asset right now is down 35%. We are on the horizon of a bull market. So what people are doing is they don't care sometimes about technical analysis, and they say, damn, Chainlink was at 150. It's at 100. Sure, that's a buy in my eyes. And that's what they do. Unfortunately, buys come in when the price is down 30-40% because regardless of the technical analysis, anything that's down 30-40% is on sale, right? But because the long-term trend is changing, once again, I could see a pop to the upside to this range right here, forming a lower high to the 157, and then potentially we come back down to form support again at like this 98-95 level. The first thing that stands out on Quant, let's delete everything. If we go to a monthly chart, major support is, let's just say 94 all the way down to like the 85 level. And now if I start zooming in, curious. Here you can see here, we're at this major support level of the 101, right here. That's why you're seeing this wick here. If we break that, you're going to your next support level, which is basically the 94.30. And then I like choosing 2 to 3 levels, right? So right now my key levels are going to be around $95 to $85 to collect, hypothetically, dollar cost average more quant. When does that happen? That happens after the pump and then the dump down, right? So I'm guessing we do something like this, potentially form a double top, and then come back down to this level over here. Next, HBAR. Same thing, but this one's a little bit more clear. So the first thing we go is we go to a weekly chart. I want to see, does the MACD look like it's about to golden cross, a death cross? Is volume coming in or is volume coming out? Are we close to the 30 line? Are we close to the 70 line? Are we close to the 50 line? So the first thing I see is here's the trend, right? We're having a hard time breaking these levels here of 8 cents to 10 cents, right? You could see it here, you could see it here, and you could see it here. Technically, these two are considered fake outs. I said this in the Discord yesterday, because when you come back to use something as support, then you have this little fake out of resistance. If it comes back to use support, then it wasn't a trend change, right? This was not a breakout. This was a fake out. A breakout is when you break resistance, use it as support, and then have a continuation to the upside. Anyone that bought at this level here, their profit was literally wiped out. Anyone that bought at this level, it looks like it's going to be the same thing. But once again, macro, right, and this is what I'm trying to teach you guys, on a macro level, the lows keep getting higher and higher. So once again, you need to buy at support and take profit at resistance, not buy at resistance thinking we're going to continue to the upside because of news, right? Now, once again, I always say F the news, trust the charts, but I'm not an idiot. I understand the importance of Ripple and Hedera combining forces. Once again, is huge for the adoption and everything else. When will the news affect the price? I don't know. Once again, I've been doing this for 17 years. It's really never affected the price. So what we do is we look at squiggly lines and we figure out where support resistance is and what the momentum is. We went from the 50 to the 70, section A. We went above section A here. You could have been buying from 4 cents, or the confirmation is here from 5 cents to 9 cents. This was the buy right here, 50%, and the people with big huevos, they got 90%. And after a 90% correction with volume coming down, you're going to have a correction. Once again, this is a clear example of what I think happens. I think we do come down, we have a little dead cat bounce right about here, we come back up, but then we have a continuation to the downside, forming yet another higher low right here at the 0.061 to potentially the 0.057. And the reason why I say that is I'm lining up the weekly chart with the 50 line. Okay, you can see here we are making higher lows each time. And if I was to connect the lines right here, I could say, well, yep, you could see that, right? We did this, we went here, we came to here, we did this, now we did this, and we did this. So I'm expecting us to bleed, but come back to around this level right here. So I'm going to line up the 50 or a little bit below with the 50 that lines up with the price. And the 50 line is the most previous resistance turned into support, lining up with 0.061. Now I give myself 2-3 levels because yes, I'm very good at this, but I'm not a genius. And it's better to choose 2-3 levels around that range so that I catch it instead of just saying one price target, and if it doesn't hit it, then I look like an idiot, even though I have 700 or had 700 videos of me calling price targets time and time again. So my levels are going to be 1.0635. I'll choose right in the meat and the potatoes, 0.060, and my greed level will be the bottom of these candles, these wicks, these wicks, these wicks, these wicks, right there. So 0.065, 0.060, 0.056. Once again, if it stops anywhere around there, I am now dollar cost averaging around the next most recent higher low. And then if we do form that bottom, look where it is. March, April, May 2024. It seems like we're having one little last dumpy dump right before the halvening. And then eventually at that point, this looks like a nice ascending triangle that eventually does break to the upside. Let's change the color for the argument, right? So white is support, yellow is resistance. I would take from here to here. Most traders are going to tell you to take the entire body of the flag. I am conservative and I'm training you to make plays that hit. What I mean is this play conservatively takes HBAR when it does break to the upside, let's just say right to around there, which makes sense because that was previous resistance turned into support, which will turn into resistance again. This looks like Ethereum's chart, just to show you what that looks like real quick. There you go. This technically, was like this. You had your break to the upside, and the break to the upside took you exactly to, look at that, the bottom of these candles here. If we go back to HBAR and we have that breakout, it could take you to the bottom of these candles here. So that's my HBAR because of the trend coming down, because we're coming down. That's what I see. Now I would set an alert. I would probably set an alert here at the 53, and I would set an alert at the 51 because I want to make, just because it looks good and it lines up and this lines up, doesn't mean it's going to happen. What I'm doing is I'm giving you a high probability of what could happen. Doesn't mean that we go to war tomorrow and, that we fall through the yellow line. Since we did this and this and this, this is not guaranteed. High probability, but now you need to set alerts to make sure it is forming that bottom. And then once you see that bottom forming, this is where you put your longs in with your profit, up here somewhere. But it didn't happen yet. So we're still preparing for, once again, dead cat bounce, double top potentially at this level, and then the leg forms back down over here, like I said. XRP, same thing. First thing I see on a weekly time frame is we are still coming down. We got rejected by the 50 line, and we potentially have room to bleed. The trend, this one's very simple. We have 2 support lines and we have 2 resistance lines. White is support. This is the macro line all the way back from 2022 June. You can see that. And then we started forming higher lows again along this white trend line, but higher than the greed level, right? Then you have this yellow resistance line, which has been resistance all the way back from September 22. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it looks like we're forming this beautiful symmetrical triangle, which could break either way. Symmetrical triangles it's just a measured move. The measured move, once again, I'm telling you to be conservative. Let's just say is from here, is from here to here, showing me that we could break down to the 38 cents, or we potentially could break up back to the 72 cents to potentially the 74 cents. So which one has the higher probability of happening? As of right now, I don't know, because we need to see what's happening with a lot of charts and setting alerts. As of right now, though, I don't like that we're in section B and the MACD is approaching section B as well. What that shows me is we could have this little dead cat bounce back to the 55 cents, this yellow resistance line once again, and then eventually fall back to the white line, leading up with somewhere over here. I think this has a very high probability of playing out, which is the 49 to the 45 cents right here. Right, so once again, if Bitcoin pops and the whole market pops, and you can see we're getting support here along this white line, we could come back up, maybe even form a fake out right here. But as long as the long-term trend is coming down, that's where you're seeing this resistance, right? You're seeing this resistance. If we see resistance, and eventually we could break down and once again come over here to 46 to 49 cents. If Bitcoin breaks eventually inform and goes to 37 to 34. So once again, there's a lot that could play out. It's chess. The next move that I think happens is a dead cat bounce. You can see here, this wick came down to 50 cents. These wicks came down to 50 cents. We're extremely oversold. I'm looking for somewhat hidden bullish divergence, meaning that these waves start going flat, and these waves start going up, showing me that we have room to go back to, once again, 54 cents to potentially 57 cents, the bottom of these candles here. Once we hit those levels, I need to reevaluate, see if we have momentum to come back down, right, do something like this and form yet another higher low to these, or if we're going up and coming back down and breaking support and heading back down to the 48 to the 45 cents. That's the video. Once again, short-term dead cat bounce, pumpage back to potentially resistance. Mid-term, again, potentially lower high coming back down. Long-term still remains bullish because we're inching closer and closer to the halving. That's the video, folks. Any comments, questions, concerns? Leave it in the comment section. If you know anyone that could benefit from these videos, do me a favor, share it. Besides that, I greatly appreciate the support, and if you can, please like the video and subscribe. And if you are one of the people that did comment a coin and I didn't do it, turn on the notification bell. I still love you and appreciate you, and it will possibly be in the next video. Thank you.